Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Flags in a Gym, a podcast dedicated to all things color guard. My name is Eric. I'm your host and resident color guard nerd. And today's episode starts our recap of the Scholastic division, and we are starting with Scholastic A. Will is back. We're talking about all the guards, our top 5 predictions, and anything else that comes to mind. So sit back, relax, and let's talk some color guard. Because we have a lot of guards to talk about for this one. So, all right, Scholastic A.
Woo.
The big class at WGI, 133 competitors, 20 in finals. Yeah, big
That's
class, long day for them on Friday. We were chatting just before recording. I went and did a little research, and I found the earliest a finalist went on and the latest a finalist went on. So the first finalist to perform in semis was Green Valley High School, and they performed at 9:42 a.m. So they were like the 7th guard on, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the latest guard to go on that was a finalist was John C. Bertelbaugh, and they performed at 5:04.
Oof.
Because Scholastic A semis went from 9 a.m. to about 5:30, and then they still had to sit around and wait for scores. And then you got to figure out when do we need to get, if you're on that bubble and you're just like waiting, like,
because the first finalist performed at 8:20 p.m. that evening. So
yes,
it was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy that day.
it's crazy. Yeah. And then talking about Green Valley. So 9:42 a.m. for semis,
Mm-hmm.
9:32 p.m. for finals,
Yeah, so almost a complete 12
12
hour.
hours. And God knows what time they were up for that 9:42 performance.
Yeah, if they had a rehearsal or anything that morning before they, who knows. But oof.
And their semis were at the Nutter Center. So that's not too far.
No, it's a 20, 30 minutes away at the most.
Yeah, Truist is the one that's far. That's where
Yeah,
Independent was. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, all right. So, like we said, we had 20 in finals. You're going to hear papers rustling because we have notes and there's a lot of
Yes.
guards to talk about. Scholastic A semis, they do get a double panel. So, they get a double panel for semis and finals. Remember, because there's 56 guards competing for 20 spots.
Mhm.
And our lovely first alternate was Great Oak High School.
Oh,
I
I was
know.
so
One of your faves.
disappointed. Every one of my favorites. I loved it every single time. It's funny though, watching them in semifinals, I thought to myself, something about this doesn't feel like it's like
Wasn't
the
hitting. Wasn't
it
hitting
was
that day.
just I mean, they were still fantastic, but they didn't, I don't know, again, through the TV, so not live, so through my TV, I wasn't getting the same like woo, crazy fun, energetic vibes that I'd gotten on Thursday or at any of the regionals that they went to. So maybe they were tired. Technically, wow, they were still technically amazing with their equipment and movement and all the things. But the energy performance wise maybe was a little, I don't know, but so I was kind of like, oh shoot. And then I was hanging on for them and Mount Juliet. I wanted both of them desperately to get in there, and both of them I think just missed. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm actually wrong. Semi started at 8:30 in the morning, not 9.
Oh, so yeah, so
It was a really early start for some of these guards. Yeah, and the first guard to make finals was Green Valley
not
at
quite our
9:42.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh.
Yeah, and Great Oak missed it by about zero point 0.4. Remember the double panels, we get all the extra numbers. So it was basically 0.4.
Yeah.
So not super close, especially with double panels. I
Mm,
mean, you double
yeah.
panels, you're getting down
Like
to
they were close,
hundreds.
but not like it was kind of like could have
Right.
gone any number of ways. Who was 22? Do you have any idea?
I don't. I only looked for
That's okay.
21.
I'm thinking that might have been Mount Juliet, but
Because they don't list it, you have to like go through all the rounds and
well,
do the
oh
math
yeah.
in your head and like,
I
okay.
I cleaned up
Um,
the papers, so I don't have that anymore. So I just have it. Oh well, it's all right. A great first alternate to Great Oak.
a great first alternate, a lovely first
Yes.
alternate.
Yeah.
And I did notice that coming out of semis, I'm just going to guesstimate like the 8th to 16th
Hmm.
guards all had like an 89 in semis.
Yes, I do
I
remember
mean, it
that.
was just
They were
absolutely
packed
insane.
in there so tight. It was,
Yeah.
which which we saw some movement. We saw some shifting around for
Yeah,
sure.
there was a
So,
lot of shifting around. And, you look at it like, wow, they went from 17th to 13th. But then when you look at semis, they were hundreds of points apart in
oh my
semis.
gosh, it was, yeah. Well, and coming out of prelims, everything was one thing. The top 20 out of prelims was one thing, and then the top 20 we got to out of semis was no, not completely different, but it was different.
Yeah.
It was like, oh goodness. So it was exciting for sure.
Yeah, it was. And, I do feel like just watching A class finals.
Mhm.
We have two types of A guards in this class, and I think WGI is coming to a point where they need to
Hmm.
really just define what A class is. You watch finals and you have these guards out there, and I know it doesn't always boil down to equipment, right? It's not about what you're spinning. There's four other captions. But
Right.
I mean, if you look at the equipment work, you have guards that go out there and they're throwing their solid quads, maybe a featured five, very
Hmm.
clean, very technique. And then you have a lot of these Texas guards, because they have guard as a class and, they train, 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 train.
Hmm.
Sixes with sit turns under them and all sorts of crazy, it just tricks galore
Yeah.
and tosses, and they're not achieving as well. But the difficulty is
Yeah, those vocabulary scores are getting
so it's just like,
way
where
high.
are we in A class? Because even if you look at the top five, you kind of have a mix of both of those. Like Pope, technically beautiful, but they were not throwing tricks galore.
No, they were giving you full-blown training, but the design, I think that's another thing too. Like the design of some of this stuff is open class almost sometimes compared to their friends
Right.
in the same mix. So you're seeing that huge variation.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you watch finals because you'll go from like an A guard, I don't want to say A guard, but like a one style of guard to a different style of guard.
Yeah.
A lot of people will make like, how did they beat them? Because you go off of what you can see, and the
Hmm.
biggest thing you see is the equipment.
Yeah. I mean, I can look at this list, and in my brain, just all the years I've been around and what I've seen and stuff, I can tell you the ones that in my brain, oh, they're an A guard. Like they're giving you an A class show, period.
Hmm.
Great. Love it. I'm here for it. And then there's the batch, like you just said, it's screaming something completely different. And it's like, ooh, you've got 20 groups, and it's all over the map.
It really is.
It
And you
really
look at them like design wise, they might be pushing open, but then execution wise, they're still A. I think a great example of this would, I think Pope High School is a great example of good design without going crazy on the tricks.
uh-huh.
Bertelbaugh, John C. Bertelbaugh was another one.
Hmm.
Beautiful show. We're going to talk about all these, but I think, Bertelbaugh went on right after Jordan High School.
Yeah.
And Jordan High School, sixes, sit turns, double turns. Also, I
Mhm.
mean, and then Berteball comes out and just gives you just a classic, good old fashioned technique A class show.
I was gonna say it, yeah, they were a master class in technique and so solid in that, and just, yeah, training, training, training.
Training, training, training. And I remember back in the day, that's what A class was. They were like, it's all about the training and
Which
basics. And
it still is, but there's this layer in there now that's like, which kind of speaks to what we're talking about, is like it's that, like, ooh, how
that
do
gray area, it's like,
yeah, this is tough. I don't know. It's
I wonder if they should start promoting more out of
oh,
A into
I've,
open
oh
instead
yeah.
of top five.
I've
Because what
been
was it?
I've kind of been screaming that for a long time. Just from just as an observer, I'm like, why are you not moving these groups up mid-season, like during the season? Get them out of here. They do not need to be in this class. It's bogging stuff down. They would do just fine in open,
Yeah.
you know.
And what's interesting is we were talking about it. So Emerson High School got promoted out of A into open this year, mid class. So sorry, they got
Right.
reclassified. We talked about that before.
Right. Yes,
They got
reclass.
reclassified
Yeah.
and they were top five in Scholastic Open.
Uh-huh.
But at the regional that they got reclassified from, they were only like a point ahead of Melissa High School.
Wow.
So it's just like, and then Melissa here, second place. Is that what they ended up?
Yeah, second. Yes.
The
Yeah.
second place in Scholastic
Yep.
A. So it's just like,
Yeah.
could they have done what I honestly looking at that show? I think that could have been an open, but it's just like, where is that line with
Yeah.
reclassification?
To me, I mean, honestly, the top, what is this? One, two, three, four. Well, so like you have, which again, we're gonna kind of go through all these, but like Clovis North, I I don't know that they would have done okay in open. I think
No,
they were a
that was a very good,
very
well
good A
written
guard,
A
like
class show. Yep,
very
yep,
good.
yep,
Yes, yeah, doing all the things, checking all the A boxes. But
yep.
yeah, Melissa, River Bluff probably would have been fine. Honestly, Pope would have been fine in open. I think they would have done.
I
They
think
would.
Melissa would have fared better if that, and that's so weird considering they finished behind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I don't know. Hard
It's
to.
hard. But I do
Yeah,
think we're, with the way the sport is evolving and where we are, I think we're coming to an impasse where we need to look at A class as a whole for WGI. And, maybe they need to go back to promoting all finalists to open. They did that. I know they did it at least once.
what was that? 20 was or 2007?
15. I remember it was like 2015,
Oh, see, I was
2016.
thinking it was. I think it was. I was thinking of 2007. Yeah,
They
they've
just
done
put
it
the,
at least once, maybe twice. I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure, but
because the
uh,
class is starting to get bogged down again.
it's very well, and especially if you look around the country and like all the circuits. I mean, it is, and this is not bad. It's just it is what it is. But it's like the majority of circuits are in Regional A, Scholastic A. That's where
Hmm.
we're at because
Yep.
that's the norm. That's fine. But there's so many. And yeah, when you come to Dayton for World Championships, whew, like I don't know. It's
And there are plenty of schools out there like Pope and Melissa and River Bluff that didn't go. I mean, you had Nation Ford High School that beat all these guards. They beat Pope at the Southeast Power Regional,
that's right.
but
Yeah.
they didn't go to Dayton because it wasn't in their plan
They
this
just
year.
couldn't. Yeah, yeah.
So it's just like there's so many other schools out there. So it's just like maybe we need to filter out A for a couple years. It's going to bloat open, but
But I think Open needs it. I mean, well, and look how small Scholastic World is. I mean,
yeah.
but again, that's we've talked about that before. Just like maintaining that level of everything is so difficult. I mean, it really is.
Especially on the
And with
scholastic side.
it's right. It's yeah. This is I'm thinking purely Scholastic here, not independent at all. Um, yeah, it's so hard to maintain that. You know, with the revolving door of students and whatnot. So,
Yeah, you get
whew,
that tough year where you graduate out a ton of kids. And if
mhm.
you're not
Got
like
15 kids
Avon,
and
Carmel
eight of
that
them
have
are
these,
seniors. Well,
yeah,
you're back
Woodlands
in.
that have these 3, 4 guards that you can just pull talent from. I mean, like those
Which
are
is
rare.
wonderful. And yeah, and feeder groups are fantastic, and that's amazing to have those. But no,
So
I think something needs to be examined very thoroughly and not in any bad way at all. It's just it needs to be looked at. Take that magnifying glass and say, let's really help these groups have a rewarding experience
and disperse them for
and
fairness of
move them
competition.
up. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
if you do want to change the rule or policy for promotion, the rules proposals will be coming up very soon.
That's
You
right.
can submit that to WGI and it can be voted on. And you can say, hey, I think it should be top 10 instead of top five. Or you know what? I think it should be all finalists in A class
Yeah.
go to open. And if it passes, it'll stay there for the minimum of 2 years. They
Mhm.
did pass a new rule where the steering committee can make adjustments to a new rule if there was like a unforeseen issue, like, oh, we didn't kind of expect this to happen, so we're going to tweak it so they can make a change. The advisory board's supposed to vote on it, but you don't have to wait the 2 years. So
Okay. That's I think that's normal. That's fine.
yeah, that's fair.
That's
Yeah.
fine with that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
remember, if you want to make those changes, that's when.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our predictions. So we did our top five predictions, and we were just really just shooting in the dark here because
It was pretty hard to pin these down.
yeah. So for my predictions, I had Melissa High School, John C. Bertelbaugh Pope, Katy High School, and Grain Valley. And I actually got 3 out of 5 on this one. Bertelbaugh was 6, so I almost had 4. And then Katy
Yeah.
was ninth. So all of mine were in the top 10. So I'll take that as a big fat W for
Mine were
Scholastic A.
not in the
Yeah,
least. I had a hard, this was oof.
you
Yeah.
had Pope, Bertelbaugh, Melissa High School. So those three, yep. And then you had Mount Juliet and Ryle High School.
Mhm. Ugh.
Yeah, poor
Uh,
Ryle. I mean, we
oh
both love
well.
their show, but this is what we talk about when you go to championships. We get everybody in the same spot, and they had a rough prelims run, and what do we say? They were like 50th,
I think they were in the top. I think they were, yeah, 50 or 49 or somewhere in
right
that
around there. So like they
bubble.
were
Yeah.
kind of nearing the semis bubble,
Hmm.
and they were seeded 11th. It's just you have that rough run, and
Yeah. And Mount Juliet was, I think, seeded well, top
sixth.
20.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were, I mean, they were up there, and then I think they finished in the top 30. But yeah, I mean, oh well.
it's so tough, so tough. So you were 2 for 5. You had the sixth place card, so you get we'll say 2.5, and then I had 3.5 because I also had the
Yeah.
sixth place.
Yeah. Uh,
All right. Any other comments before we start talking these cards?
no, I mean, just again, like I've said with some of the other classes we've talked about, like just great variety. I mean, every single show was different. I mean, we got such a huge array of just themes and music and color palette. I mean, I loved it. It was exciting that way. So,
Yeah, Scholastic A is usually
yeah,
a lot of fun. You usually get that big variety in Scholastic A.
yep.
All right, so we're gonna jump right in. So we have 20 guards to go over. So we may not be
I'll
going
bite my tongue
as
on a few of them so I don't ramble.
well. I can cut the rambling. It's fine.
That's true.
Uh,
That's true.
when we go off some of the tangents we've gone off, I've cut. So Um, so might be moving a little quicker than normal. I do also have their original semis placement. So if there's any big notable moves, we'll bring that
Okay.
up as well.
Yeah.
But 20th place was Yukon High School out of Yukon, Oklahoma, and their
Mhm.
show was called Fast Car. They
Yeah.
used a medley of versions of Fast Car, very popular song by Tracy Chapman that apparently has lots of covers out there. The big one was it Luke Combs was the big one recently?
Yeah, last year or
Is
something
that
that
his
came
name?
out, or
I
yeah, I think
listened to the old
the
90s country.
country
I don't know new
the
country.
country version that
Right.
or whatever it was. Yeah, yeah, but Tracy Chapman's original,
Yep. And they
great
had
song.
the roads on the floor with lots of tires on the floor and the big road sign in the back for
Yes,
their
the
travels, which was cute.
tires. The tires gave me two things came to mind immediately. And Carroll High School in 1997, they used tires in their show, and then Crown. No, I'm sorry, Corona in 2004 when they did their like military training show. They had
Yeah, like the military.
tires
Yeah.
also. And tire, I just cannot imagine how. Whew, that's a beast to lug around, and these
And the
kids did like
smell.
nothing. Well, yeah, smell.
Because they had like 25 of those things on the floor. Because I think they had one for
I
each
think they had one
performer.
for each person. Yeah, and made me wonder if they like put a coating on the tire or something to keep it from getting like this the because that black stuff, the tire is gonna it rubs off
Yeah.
sometimes and marks things, and so I'm wondering if they coated them in something to help prevent that. I don't know, but kudos to them for hauling those things around.
Right.
The tarp was really cool. I love like that kind of yeah, just kind of that big travel
Yeah.
road map kind of vibe they were giving off, and it was great. It was fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a fine A-class show. Little droppy, long day.
Yeah.
First time in UD Arena for probably all of these kids. Well, no, we had a couple repeat finalists, but for most of them, first time in UD Arena finals.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I did not like the Sam Smith version of Fast Car they used at the beginning of the show, and I was like, please don't tell me the whole show is this
That
version.
threw me off just a little bit. I liked that they like that. I was like, oh, okay, like this is a version of it. That's cool, but it wasn't my favorite
It's
choice.
definitely a version of it. It's
I would have just
definitely-
rather heard the Tracy Chapman version the whole
right?
time, and
Yeah.
that would have been fine. But that's all right.
So congrats to them out of
Yes.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. Congrats.
Moving on to 19th place was Lafayette High School from Missouri because there were
Yeah,
two. So I think there's one from Kentucky as well.
that's correct. Yep. They were.
So the one from Misery made it in, and
Yes.
their show was A Rose by Any Other Name, and they had the gray roses floor.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
And they
Great.
were the very first guard on. So they were our first finalists to perform.
Yes, they were. Shout out to my friend Evan. Hi, Evan. He did a great job with them.
Hi, Evan.
Hi, Evan. And yeah, they were they were a group. I saw them a few times through the season, and then watching them in prelims, and I caught them in semis, and then watching them in finals. These kids just had great, solid performances every single time. So I was not surprised to see them make finals. They definitely held their own and maintained that stamina to churn out great performances. Beautiful show, beautiful costumes, like purplish, lacy velvet, like very dramatic, giving you some Romeo Juliet kind of vibes. Really, really beautiful with that. And then that flower flag at the end was gorgeous. We get the rose silks at the end was a great moment. And they got a little silent moment in their feature too at the end, which was cool.
Yeah. I really liked it. I mean, for being the
Yep.
first guard on, they moved up a spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Congrats. I mean,
Yep.
please remember when we're talking about these guards, it is so hard to make Scholastic A finals.
It's so hard.
So hard to make it. So there are
Yeah.
many amazing guards that did not make finals. That does not mean anything about their greatness. They are still wonderful groups.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, some
these.
incredible shows got left out. So I mean,
Yes.
it's like, oof. I mean, yeah. So no, congrats to Lafayette though. They did a great job.
Right. 18th place was Franklin High School out of Ohio, and their show was When Love Arrives. And this was a spoken word over piano that turned into a version of it At Last by Etta James, not sung by little Etta James's cover of it.
Right. Right.
And they had a bright yellow goldie floor with pink and burgundy uniforms on it.
Yeah.
And they had a couple standout weapon spinners.
Yes, they had a couple standouts. I thought the whole guard though was just impeccably trained in movement and just their performance. Watching them bring this show to life was a lot of fun. Just they were having a great time with it, connecting to the words in their soundtrack. I thought they did a great job with that, and um, they've been a team. I've gotten to give them comments and things at fall marching band events over the last few years,
Hmm.
and so it's been cool to be like, oh, all right, like every fall they're doing their thing, and they're training and they're whatever, and then here they are making finals. I think this is their first time in finals at WGI, so congrats to them because they've been putting in the work. And it was such a good show. Shazam actually picked up the soundtrack. I was able to find it. And it was it's like a live recording, I think, of a poetry event
Oh, fun.
sometime back, in recent years. But yeah, it was really cool. I was like, oh my gosh, it was fun to have that in my library of stuff.
For
Just um,
that playlist you still need to make.
my playlist that I will need to work on. No, but they were great. Yeah, some standout performers, like you said, and just they just yeah, they were just super solid.
Yeah, and they had that like cool, like sheer
It
purpley
was a lame fabric.
wine. Was it lame? It
It
looks
was
see-through.
it was a lame. I think it was like there's a couple versions of lame out there that are a little more transparent than others. So I'm thinking it was that because it had a little bit of a sheen to it, and I was like, I've seen this fabric. I know this fabric.
I
Um,
mean, I'm
but
trusting your judgment on this one, given your
yeah.
history. So,
But yeah, I know you're right. Yeah, it was fun. And I loved that kind of like you said, the goldy yellow floor, and then that the splash of their multi pinks in their costuming, and then the solid silks they had it was just kind of like just right. It all just
yeah.
made sense and worked really well.
All right. Moving on to 17th place, Kettering Fairmont High School. Their show was The Violinist. And special little note for them, they are moving to open class. This was their third
That's
consecutive year making
right.
finals in A class. So, if you don't know the rule, it's top five automatically. And then if you make finals 3 years consecutively, like you have to go in 3 consecutive years. So
Mhm.
for them, it'd be 2023, 2024, and now 2025. They made finals. So they get moved to open. It happened last year with Gold Independent and Independent A, and I believe also Creekview High School because they weren't open this
Okay.
year. And I
Yes.
did not catch them getting promoted because they were not top five. So they must have been a 3 year finalist.
Okay.
So even, and this is the one thing where I'm kind of like, I'm not crazy about this rule because here they are in 17th, but they're still going to open.
Yeah.
And they had the big like fuchsia floor with a big V on it, the
The
big
big,
black V.
yeah, the big V and the beautiful black costumes that were very, very striking. And then their flag choices too. The flag, they had like a really bright, like
They had a bright yellow flag for their flag
old
feature.
yellowy
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, but like again, on the screen watching it, it was like vibrating with color on
Yes.
the screen. It was so intense.
And the
Really,
silk
really
was
cool.
really big or really long or something. Watching it spin, it's almost like you put a 6.5 foot silk on a 6 foot pole,
Yeah, it seemed a little, yeah, a little
a
oversized kind
little
of, yeah.
oversized,
Um, but
which can hinder your
yeah,
execution, your cleanliness.
if you didn't weight it right, it can, yeah, certainly throw off the balance, and yeah, the rotations and stuff get a little wobbly.
Yeah.
Um, but they had some good statements, I thought. I'll be honest, I didn't really care for this one as much as I wanted to.
Same.
They got up to that kind of that yellow flag feature moment, and I was like, okay, this is like I was kind of here for it. And then they lost me when they brought out like these giant black flags that I didn't really understand that, and
And the giant, like obnoxiously huge, like
giant
coat that
skirt
she was
coat
pulling behind
thing
her.
that the one that the soloist. Yeah, it kind of lost me with that just in terms of the progression of the show
And I
up to
didn't
that
understand how it
point.
related to the violinist. Like I know she was carrying around
Yeah.
a violin for a while,
And
and
the
then
violin
all
was very sparkly, so I love that.
yes,
That was fun. I
but
love
then
that
she's in this giant black
part.
coat. And then this is my flow complaint. I'm not hating on this performer, not hating on this young lady,
No,
but you have this big flag feature with these giant black sheer flags going on.
we
And
didn't see any of it.
we didn't see any of it because the camera is like zoomed in 6 inches from this girl's face.
Uh-huh.
And she's
Yeah.
like throwing the coat around and, making these grimacing faces or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
That was
what's going on behind her? And then when the show's done, they come back out. I'm like, I just missed the entire flag
yeah,
feature.
that was a bummer for sure. Yeah.
So
Which
this is why I watch Top View.
well, and I will remember that next year. But again, yeah, the first half I was really here for it. I was, they had a little maybe little of a dirty run in terms of some excellence things, but they were really great performers. I think they might actually be okay when they get to open class, just from the way that the like the just the way that they're trained.
Mm,
Think they might be all right. Yeah, I'll be exciting to see how they do, but in terms of that, it seemed more the show itself was kind of meh,
yeah,
whatever.
agreed.
But the performers were um definitely displaying some high training, high quality training.
All right, moving on to 16th place. This was Carroll High School. They
The
moved up from
jellyfish.
18th. The Jellyfish, yes, their
The
show was Into
jellyfish.
the Depths. Gorgeous production value. That's just a
This
whole
was so
stage setup.
fun. Yes, yeah, this was great.
The one thing
All
I will say though is that garland that they have is going to haunt those kids for the rest of their lives.
the giant seaweed stuff.
That giant seaweed thing, every single show I watched them, because I saw them a few times at regionals and stuff.
Yeah.
It was designed to pull apart at a certain point in the show. It
Okay.
always broke before that. Like,
Oh.
because they're trying to stretch it across multiple performers and it would break somewhere. And so you'd have these performers, quote unquote, air flagging their
hmm
garland work. And it's just like,
Oh
these
my
kids are just
gosh.
like, I'm so done with this stupid seaweed. I cannot wait to be done with this seaweed. Um,
Oh shoot. I'll be honest, I don't think I ever really noticed that it was happening before it was supposed to, so to speak, but I do remember there were some times where it wasn't cooperating. We'll just say that.
The
But
only reason I know I caught it was because these kids were violating one of my golden rules that I always taught my students is
mm,
when you mess up or something goes wrong, you can't tell the audience that something went wrong. And
bingo.
it was obviously unexpected for them. Every time I saw it would break, and then they're looking left or right real quick. They're trying to re-grab it. The other performers trying to take this 8 foot giant seaweed boa and try to hand the performer some while trying to keep going. Like they were trying to
Yeah.
recover, but you're trying to recover with this giant oversized thing. It's not like a rifle where you just whoop, pop it to them real
Yeah,
quick.
just snap it back up. Yeah,
So it's
but
just like when the panic starts happening on the floor, you zero in on that performer.
sure.
So it's just like and then I was like, oh look, it happened again because I think they were at the Indy regional. It happened in prelims.
Hmm.
Then I watched them in finals, and it happened again. Then it happened at the Mid East regional. Then it happened. So
Oh,
it's just like I got trained to look for it.
yeah. Is it
Like,
gonna happen? Is it
is
gonna
it going to
happen?
happen? So I
Oh,
know these kids are like, thank God we're done with this
right.
because
I
the show
love,
itself was really cool.
yeah, whoever helped put that together, great job because it was in terms of like programming and just the the build up to that first big flag feature was so
Oh, that blue
gorgeous.
flag feature.
That
Yes.
blue flag feature was beautifully done. And the choices in like the flags themselves and then how they popped just enough up against like the tarp and the backdrops.
Hmm.
It was all very, blues, purple, oceany kind of
And
vibes,
pinks. Yeah.
but it
And
was
then,
just enough of a difference that it still popped, which was great. Their costumes were gorgeous too. That white iridescent stuff. It was just beautiful, beautiful costuming. Um,
yeah, I
yeah.
love the first half of the show.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, honestly, that blue flag feature was like an ending flag feature. So
Yeah,
the first time I
it
saw it, I was
came
like,
very much more towards the middle, didn't it? It
yeah,
was,
and I was like, they're still going. I thought that was the end of the show, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they've only been on 2 minutes, but it was that powerful, that
yeah.
effective. So it's just like, oh, and then they bring out the sabers, and then they go into a pink flag section, which another trend this year across all units was pink flags,
Lots of pink.
lots of
Yeah.
pink.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. Uh,
Yeah, it's great. They had a good season just kind of across their like with the regionals and their local circuit and stuff. They really had a strong season. So I was glad to see them make it into the top 20. It was
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Moving on to 15th place was Lincoln Way Community Schools, and their show was called It's Snowing.
Mm.
And they moved down from 12th. And they had a black floor with like some almost like little dots on it, like you would think of like a star show. And then they had
Hmm.
big window props in the back.
Yes, big window panes. And the performers were the snow, as how I interpreted things.
Yeah,
Um,
that and the 500 pounds of glitter they threw everywhere.
and right, the glitter that was everywhere. Yes, yes.
They heard
Um,
Party City was close, shutting down, and they were like,
like
let's go.
we're getting all the glitter we can. That's right.
We'll take your glitter
Uh,
aisle. Thank you.
I love the way that they begin. That they had like I think three pods of the performers.
Hmm.
They each one had a moment to kind of open up and give you this motif of a snowflake and some of that movement and detailing was really really beautiful. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
I could have used some more color in the show. I know the show was based around snow, but it's just like,
the close up of the flag on the video, I was kind of disappointed. It almost looked a little icy blue with like, and I could again, then the video gives you different stuff than what's real life, so this could be way off, but it looked like it was like icy blue with some yellow and white. And I would have rather it just been a solid white or solid white iridescent or something that just evoked more just snow. It was, yeah, that was an odd moment to catch when the camera kind of zoomed in on one of the silks. I was just like, that's
mm.
not what I expected.
Yeah.
Um,
So from the top view, it looked like they had a gray flag and then a white flag.
yeah.
And I was just like, can I get some more color, please? I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's a snow show, so you're not going to pull out like hot pink,
My
but
brain, if it's a snow show, my brain immediately goes to Fantasia 2007. So you got to compete with their flurry production from that in
And they
my
pulled out
mind.
like those like that like ice blue, like that had a starker blue to it in there.
Mhm.
You can play with those colors. I think they color,
But
they made
yeah,
finals. Like, I mean, we're not, it's not like
no, it's just it,
just our
um,
preferences. So, um,
even more than I think all of that, the thing that like was a disconnect for me, just as a spectator person, I didn't care for the song choice. It
no, I
was
didn't either.
so slow, and so I was just like, this is not engaging me at all. Not, I'm like, oof,
Yeah, and I
that
was when I
was
first
hard.
when I was hearing the song, I'm like, what does this have to do with snow? It's snowing, and then eventually you get to the lyrics and they're saying it's snowing. And I'm like, oh, okay, this
Knowing,
is where it's
okay,
coming from. But it's just like,
but it was a yeah, that was,
yeah,
whew, that was a lot. I mean, the performers, I think movement wise, the performers were excellent. I watching them dance and do all of that choreography was great. The song with the equipment, I just was like, I don't,
it's really hard when you don't care for the song.
not connecting to me. So
Right.
I had a hard time.
That
But
was
hey,
my issue with Carmel High School this year in the world. Like amazing, amazing show. But I hate that song. And it just you have that block in front of you. You're just like you're that hurdle. So
yeah.
all right,
But they made finals and that was great. So yay.
yeah. Congrats to you. That's right.
Yes.
14th place was Edwardsville High School, and their show was Among the Fireflies.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And they
Yes.
had the floor, the beautiful floor with all the leaves printed on, like the giant autumn leaves.
Yes. And then they were the performers were the Fireflies, I think is how I
Hmm.
interpret it. Yeah, it was a beautiful set. Yeah, that tarp was gorgeous.
Very pretty. And another trend, especially in Scholastic A, was a gold lame flag. So they had a gold lame flag feature.
Mhm,
At the end, we had quite a few of those.
mhm.
As I was watching them all, I was like, "Oh, they have a gold flag. They have a gold flag."
Yes.
Um, and they used a kind of a cover version of Fireflies by Owl City.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, it was kind of in there with something else was on top of it, I think, towards, but yeah,
Yeah, they had a
that was
couple, but that
fun.
that was kind of what
That was a
they.
fun little tie-in that with that. I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't really have many more notes. I was just like, "It's a solid A
Yeah.
show," and I love the
They
floor.
were very good. Gorgeous floor, gorgeous costumes. I mean, yeah, it was just very enjoyable.
Yeah, love the floor. Can I have the floor? I mean, that screams Autumn Leaves by Ava Cassidy, like night and
Oh,
day.
there we
Just
go.
take that and just
We'll just Edwardsville, just save that floor and use that song next year.
there
Just
you
do
go.
it. There you go.
Although that's another song that we might need to think about retiring
Well,
from WGI. Moving on to 13th place. This was a big mover. This was Freedom High School out of Orlando. Their show was called Word, and they moved up from 17th. So they went from 17th to 13th,
all right.
and they were in these like navy blue, like sequin costumes with a big open back.
Yeah, that's right. The big cutout in the back. Very
Um, and it,
dramatic.
and it was a jazzy piano. And then the lyrics started, and I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And it's a jazzy version of Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice.
Wait, are you for real? I
Yes, it
completely
is.
missed that.
It is a jazz version of Ice Ice Baby.
Okay, I'm gonna have to find the
Because the
video.
lyrics goes, all right, stop, collaborate and listen. Like it wasn't the rap.
No,
That's why it caught me off. You know, I'm a kid of the 90s, so it's just like, all
I
right, stop,
absolutely
collaborate and listen. Ice
did
is back
not
with a brand
catch
new
that.
so it's just like I knew what it was. I'm like, I know these words. I know these. And I was like, and it all
That's
tied back because at the very beginning, like in their quick little pre-show,
huh.
there was like a countdown, like sometimes they'll put in a quick drum beat, like before the music starts.
Yeah.
It was four sounds of ice dropping into a glass. So I was like, why is it an ice cube sound? And then the lyrics started, and I'm like, I get it. Ice, 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 baby.
I completely missed all of that, but
Yep. And
I
then
love
they ended with a ice blue lame flag.
this.
Beautiful. It was very
That was,
Florida. It was a very Florida show. I liked it. It just
yeah.
I was like, okay, we got jazzy piano, we got the sequin unitards, the open back, all right, and then the lyrics started, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like,
Oh,
okay, you got a couple extra points here for that because you
I
caught me off
love
guard.
it. Yeah, I can. I completely missed that, but that they were just great to watch. They were a very very solid group. Just technique and all of that really came through, and yeah, I loved it. It was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. So congrats on the big jump in finals.
Yeah, yeah, big jump. That was exciting.
12th place was Kennesaw Mountain High School from Kennesaw Mountain, Georgia, and their show was For Better or For Worse. And
Yeah,
they had the purple marbled floor that was in three sections with like a table and chairs in each section, and they kept hitting the tables over and over,
yes.
pounding on them. That big slapping sound
Yeah.
where that was confusing at first. You're like, are rifles hitting
Yes,
the ground?
I thought I in semis, yeah, I texted you. I was like, is something happening? Because
You thought
uh
something was happening behind the curtain in warm
I
up.
thought yes, I thought something was going on, and I was like, these poor kids are like having to perform with this giant thuds going on. Nope, it was them slapping into the table. I was like, oh, okay. So drama, we got some drama with their performance
Yes,
that with the sound effects. They were technically fabulous. This group was just wow, training at the wazoo. I mean, it was beautiful to watch. I didn't particularly care for the show. Just
the
just
banging on the tables was very
the
distracting.
just but the tarp was gorgeous. Their costumes were great. The fly like they had a lot of the boxes were being checked. I just didn't particularly care for
Yeah.
the the theme, I guess, or whatever. But they did a great job. And again, just watching them with the equipment in particular was wow. They were very well taught. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, they would be a group. I think if they wandered into open, they'd be fine.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
well, maybe next year.
I don't know. Who knows? Stay tuned.
Right. Moving on to 11th place. This was Wiley High School out of Texas, and their show was The Devils in the Details. This was our fan favorite. Sorry, this was the viewer's choice for fan favorite. I forgot to mention our fan favorite choices
Oh yeah.
in our predictions, probably by choice because I picked Ryle High School
Mm,
and you picked John C. Bertelbaugh.
yes.
So
Yeah.
we both missed, but I mean, we had to pick one out of 133. So, and we hadn't seen all 133.
No, no.
Not like with
Wiley was
World, where you see Amp, you're like, okay.
right. Like, yep, it's fine. But this show, I'm not mad that they got fan favorite because it was so fun to
It's
watch.
so much
Uh,
fun.
just they took this theme and just full on ran with it, and it
And they
was
pulled
great.
out the 80s banger, Total Eclipse of the Heart, and they used the
Yes,
actual version by
it
Bonnie
was
Tyler.
it was so good. The giant mannequin in the middle, the
The strips of fabric they
fabric,
pulled
the
from of it.
strips of fabric, the coat, the whole. I mean, they just went to town with Dalmatian print, and
And I loved when they're going into the flag feature. One performer went to the front corner of the floor and they cut a hole in it so she
yes,
could slip it over
right,
her head. And then she
and
runs into the floor and it's like a giant coat,
it,
essentially. Like
uh-huh,
such a cool effect.
it was really great. They just
Yeah.
that was that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And Cruella has been a popular show theme for a few years, ever since
Yeah,
the
we've
movie
seen it a
came
few
out.
times, I think, in the last, yeah, roughly what, 4 or 5 years or so. That
So
was
when they came out on the floor, I was like, Cruella, y'all a couple years late on this one. You know? But
but
no, it was
hey,
great. It
it
was
was
great.
yeah, it was and yeah, like you said, the soundtrack that choices that they made, that was great. That was a 10. That was very good.
So yeah, I mean that's pretty
Yep.
much what I just loved it.
It just
I
it
mean,
was fun. It was great, solid color guards, a
yep.
lot of fun. Just they had a good time.
All right, and they moved up from 14th, so they made a decent
Oh,
jump
big,
in
big
finals
try.
as well. So
Yeah,
they went from 14th to 11th.
yeah.
Moving on to 10th, we have Tomball Memorial High School, and their show was called Anne Juliet. And this was the music from the musical Anne Juliet. If you don't know what that is, it's a jukebox musical of Britney Spears music. If you don't know
Yes.
what a jukebox musical is, it's where you take an artist's work and take all the songs and make a story out of it. So if you know Mamma Mia, it's all music by ABBA. And they just took the songs and created this story. So Anne Juliet is the same. It's all Britney Spears music. And I love the floor, that
The
bright
floor
orange
was
floor with like the
and
graffiti esque.
very, very funky vibes to that. But then you get their costume, which is a little bit more, you know, Juliet from,
Yeah, a
you
little
know,
more Shakespeare
medieval
time period.
Shakespearean kind of vibe to that, which was a lot of fun. Uh,
I just feel like the show didn't match the floor 100%.
okay, yeah,
I just I was expecting something different with this bright orange graffiti-esque floor. Not that I
mhm,
was disappointed, but it's just,
sure.
I've always made the comment of, does the show actually match the floor? Kind of like when we talk about the pre-show, does the show match the pre-show kind of thing?
Right, right, yeah. The only reason I'm going to disagree a little bit is just because I've seen the I haven't seen the Broadway show, but the album of the cast recording very much fits with the way that they
Oh,
did
it
the
looks like the
floor.
album cover. Okay.
It gives that off. So
Okay.
I was like, oh, well, that makes a little bit more sense, in terms of where they got that idea from. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, yeah, I get it. It's kind of like, oh, I don't understand the Anne Juliet mixing with the Britney songs. That like the title with that kind of was.
I mean, the Britney songs, I mean, the songs were from the musical, and the name of the musical
No,
is Anne
right, right. I
Juliet. But
just don't get the Anne Juliet part. So that I was like,
yeah.
what? I don't know what that, but it's all right. But
And
they were great. They had some super strong solo performers.
yeah, this was one of those, they're Texas guards. So, they're spinning every day, all day, very well trained, solid. I mean, you could see it in their tosses, like the rotations were tight, You're like,
Mhm.
okay, I see the technique and the talent there. And
Yeah.
at the very end of the show, they had a girl come out in a red sequin costume and then run to the edge of the floor.
That was the only big question mark for me. I was like,
Right.
it felt like it just like skidded to a halt and it was over. And it was
Yeah.
like, that was the end. That was kind of weird.
Yeah. And we'd not seen this character, at all through the show. I'm not gonna say this girl, but this red sequin, like what was the point of it? Like what was it representing?
Yeah, it just felt like we got like the show just got chopped and that was like, oh, we have to stop now. This is it. Like,
We're out of
oh,
time.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. So just that was kind of interesting, but great group. Again, that was just super, super talented performers. They
Yeah.
were very fun to watch.
And a beautiful floor. I don't know how you're gonna sell that floor though.
Yeah.
That is so specific. I mean, like you have to do an Anne Juliet show to if you want to
Flip it
buy
over and use the back. That's all I
that.
got. Yeah.
Ninth place, another Texas guard, was Katy High School Varsity with their show Broken Hallelujah. And this one had chairs all over the floor and like tattered paper kind of like all over
Uh-huh.
the black base tarp.
Uh,
Um,
it was kind of hauntingly beautiful. Like it was just like, ooh, this is yeah, there was I just yeah, it was just beautiful to look at and
I hated the music.
yeah.
I hated the music. I
It
get
wasn't
it
my
by
favorite either.
Broken Hallelujah. So the music was very modulated and when they did the pitch bending and stuff, I'm like, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
But the kids are crazy talented. Morgold LeMay,
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Morgold
Yep, we
LeMay here.
saw that again. Yep.
And this was one of those hardworking guards because we talked about them early in March. They were sitting at the bottom of A class in Texas at the regional, come out
hmm
3 weeks later, and they're right behind Melissa High School. Then they
Yeah.
show up to WGI and end up ninth.
hmm
I mean,
Super, super hard workers.
yeah.
Um, yeah, aesthetically, I liked it. Like again, like you said, the soundtrack wasn't my favorite, but um, oh well.
But once again,
And they
we
were
have we have quite a few in a row here. How hang on, let
this
me
was ninth or eighth?
one, two, three. There are five Texas guards in a row that we're going to talk about right here. So
Okay.
this was ninth.
Ninth, I'm sorry, ninth. Okay.
They were seventh in semis, and they
Right.
dropped. They had a little bit of a tougher run in finals.
Yeah. They still broke 90, so that's fine.
Yep. Moving on to eighth place, we have Dripping Springs High School, also out of Texas. And their show was Threaded Together, and this was the show that had the three big spinning wheels
And
in the corner
yeah,
and the fabrics coming from them.
it was very yeah, when they were setting up and I was looking at it and I thought my mind was going one way with it. and then they started, and I was like, "Oh, this is not okay. We're not doing that. That's cool." I thought it was gonna be like very like Rumpelstiltskin,
Oh,
gold,
okay.
red vibes, but they went a different way. But I loved it. I was like, "Oh, this is." It was very intriguing. Like I was kind of like, I guess, just captivated and sucked into their whole atmosphere they created. Because didn't they had like that center clump of props. Uh, I think that was them. Um,
I think they just had the three, the corners. They had a big flyover, like a burgundy flyover, and they were pulling lots of material on the floor and kind of wrapping
okay,
it
no,
around performers,
yes, I'm sorry.
and
You're
then they
right.
had a gold lame ending.
Yep, that's right. We got back to back gold lame. That's right. Yeah.
um,
They were good. I
they
liked it.
were good. They were good.
Very good.
And solid Texas guard. I mean, this is what you'd expect out of a Texas A guard. I mean,
Yeah.
let's review. I mean, this is what you'd expect, just like with Katie and Tomball and Wiley. And the next one we're going to talk about, like, I mean, I enjoyed it. I love the spinning wheels. I love the different colors of fabrics and nice, clear concept. So, moving on to seventh place, we have Jordan High School, also out of Texas, and their show is called Operator. And they had the floor that had like the gravel road with the grass, and they put up the telephone props along that dividing
Yeah, the
line.
big power line
Yeah,
telephone poles and the silks that had I think the silks had like the old
the rotary phones.
phone partial on that, which was really cool and a great costume from them. The costume was beautiful.
Yeah,
Very
they had like, was it the red pant with the white blouse, kind of like
Mhm.
a
Yeah, just
40s ish
40s
feel.
ish. Yeah, just very beautiful. Just it's very sophisticated and
And they had chain flags in the beginning.
they did, yes, that's right. Yeah, that kind of blackish. That was the one with the rotary phone on it. I think the
Oh, then
number.
they must have all had because I know their ensemble one had had a phone on it as well. So
Um, no, this show though, I'm a sucker for that song. That's always great. And then just with the setup, I was just those power lines and the tarp and the whole. This is great. I was like, all right, here we go. This was fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it. They were a guard that was trying to do a lot. Like they were doing throwing lots of stuff in the air. Most of it came down into their hands.
Mhm.
And they were a big guard.
They were a good size. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
Once again, well trained Texas guard. These were the ones that were doing like extra turns and sit turns. Like they were throwing
yeah,
lots of
there were a couple
tricks.
moments where I was like, oh, kind of caught my breath because I was like, oh my gosh, that was exciting. And I mean they did it, but it was just like, whoa, that was okay, here we go. Now we're in the thick of the top stuff here. This is wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as we progress upwards, you really the biggest thing I noticed is just the not the technique, but just the refinement in the technique gets better and better with each guard. Like all
Mhm.
these guards, they can sit there and throw quads and stuff like that, but just like especially when we talk about the next guard, just like the refinement in the catches and
And
everything and the breath and the
and well, and there's that effortless quality to it that is just they're doing it, they all do it, and they all nail it every single time, and there's no question, and
yeah,
it's just as easy as blinking,
yeah.
it's just so yeah. But Jordan was gorgeous. I love that.
Yeah, they were. And they moved down from sixth, just one spot because spoiler alert coming up, we have a very, very big jumper
Big
that
jump.
that
Yes.
kind of pushed everybody down a
Yes.
spot. So moving on to sixth place. Moving on to sixth place, we have John C. Bertelbaugh High School out of New York. And
Yes.
their show, Dear Priscilla, this is the Elvis show.
Mhm.
Um, that had the big Elvis light up props. They had the
Uh,
Suspicious Minds pre-show. This was one where the pre-show doesn't connect to the show. I love the pre-show, but
yeah.
they're getting they're doing the pelvic thrusts and the rocking and everything. They're getting the crowd in,
And then
and,
we really bring it
and then
down.
we bring it down.
Yeah, that's true.
Biggest things that I wrote down about this were technique,
Hmm.
solid, expressive, and breath. Those are the four things that I picked up
Yeah,
on this. I mean, it
yeah.
wasn't a flashy show, which is
No.
funny considering it's an Elvis show.
Right, right. But it wasn't flashy in the way that Elvis would make you think. I think I would say it's flashy in that they're nailing the crap out of
Yes.
everything. And this was probably the first group in the whole batch. So I was like, this flag line is killing it. I mean, they spent as much time, maybe more, with the flags as they did with the weapons, and making sure that those performers were so solid. And
Hmm.
I mean, that again, that effortless quality of I'm gonna release, I'm gonna turn around once, maybe twice, we'll see, and just catch, and it's no problem. And I just as though I just all I did was just stand here. It's just oh my goodness, that was really beautiful detailing with their flag book. So.
Yeah, and they were one of the smaller guards to perform. I think
Yeah,
them and Pope, I think probably each
yeah,
around like 12
15
members ish.
or something. That what? Yeah, weren't or okay, maybe less. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it was maybe
they weren't
12,
very big.
maybe 13.
Actually,
Um,
Kennesaw Mountain wasn't very big. I think they had what 11 or 12 maybe. Um,
yeah.
but yeah,
But yeah, John C.
quality
Bardwell,
over quantity.
yeah, excellent, excellent. I mean, there was one rifle toss that just like they just nailed the crap out of it. There was like
Uh-huh.
their five weapons, and it was just like
Just
smack,
yeah,
which is so good.
wonderful performers. Excited for them.
Well,
They're
they,
moving up.
no, they stay in A
They will stay. Oh, okay,
because they
okay.
moved down a spot because of
That's right. They weren't fifth. That's correct.
they were fifth going in, they ended up sixth, so they stay in A.
Okay.
Um, and I had the lovely pleasure of connecting with one of their performers. Hi, Hannah,
Okay.
who has become a big fan of the podcast. So I
Oh,
always
fun.
try to shout her out whenever. So I think she's a senior, so I'd love to know where she's going to march. If she's going to stay up there, she might be a Chile.
There we go.
But you know, who knows
Yeah,
where she's going to school? But um, no, this was a great show, and
just
this to me was just like a great A class show. You
exactly.
know,
Yep,
we weren't pushing open, we weren't trying to be open. It was just a great A
yep,
class show.
exactly. Yeah, wonderful job.
So congrats to you all. Now we're on to our top five. So all of these guards plus Kettering Fairmont that we mentioned earlier are going to open class. So fifth place, here we go. We have them, Grain Valley High School out of
Doing Reba
Missouri.
McIntyre. Yes, out of Missouri. Yep.
Yeah, doing Reba McIntyre. Their show is called The Bridge We Burned, and they jumped up from 11th in
Yes.
prelim. So there's
Very
20 of them, so they do two groups of 10, and then they take a break. So they were the last guard to go on in that first group of 10, and then a break, and then they still jumped all the way up to fifth. And honestly, I think if they had been later, they would have placed higher.
okay. They were fabulous. I lost it when I heard Reba's voice and I was like, "Holy crap. Oh, here we go. This is great." They
Yeah,
yeah,
Reba's good. Reba's got good music for guard.
she does.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised more people don't use it.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know somebody doesn't probably want to do a 7 minute fancy show. I would love to see a 7 minute fancy
Hey,
show.
no, if you're gonna do fancy, you need to do the original Bobby Gentry version because that's
Mm.
that's spectacular. Um, no, but they were just great. They had such a powerful run. Um, yeah, powerful. They were powerful, very
And their
powerful,
weapons were mind blowing.
really great.
Mind blowing. Like they're going to open, and as long as half the guard isn't seniors, they're fine.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
honestly, so they went to a regional. This is when they blew the doors off everybody, and that's where I was like, you know, who is this? They brought their JV guard, so they were first.
Oh,
Their
that's
JV
right.
guard was like fifth in A
Mhm.
class. Like,
Yes, that's right.
and I
I
don't know if they
forget.
brought the JV to Dayton.
Um, there were at least a couple groups I think that did. I don't know if they were one of them. I don't remember. Uh,
I don't remember either, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did and their JV made semis because they were that good. But
they
so
have a very good fall program too, so I'm not surprised to see their indoor stuff doing well.
yeah, and I had never heard of them before. So I mean, I love when these guards like quote unquote come out of nowhere.
I
I
could be
mean,
wrong. I think they're on the like they would lean towards the St. Louis side of Missouri, I think. But I could be wrong about that. I'm gonna see here real quick.
you look that up. The one part I did
Oh
find,
no, I'm wrong.
okay,
They're close to Kansas City. Never mind.
they're the other side. I did find it really funny. So at the end, they have in the end of the flag feature, you only have a
Mhm.
toss turnaround in the front, and the one girl in the front center of the floor.
Flag just said, "Forget it. I'm going way over here." And she
Yeah,
was like, "I don't need you anymore, Flag. I'm going back here." And it
it
was
was like she was like, "Oh, I thought this was an exchange. Oh, wait, it wasn't like because it lands in front of the next person, but she doesn't
it
need it
was
anymore. So she's just like, oh well, and keeps going.
it was great. It was so
So funny.
perfect. I know. Oh shoot. That was really that was really good. No,
um,
love them. They're yeah, excited for them for next year. It'll be fun.
yeah, they're gonna be a guard to watch next year. Yeah, I honestly think if they'd been on later in finals, they would have been higher because I think they were strong enough. It's just you go on so early, the judge can't. I mean, the judges aren't going to throw a huge number at you, but all these guards went on after them, and they're like, nope, this one was better. Nope, nah, they were still better. They were still better, and
Yeah,
then eventually, excellent job, Green Valley.
love it.
Fourth place was Clovis North High School varsity from California, and their show was called Connect.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, they were second in coming into finals, and they fell out of medals just because they had a tough
Uh,
run.
You had some bobbles that, oof, yeah. Still got a great score. They had 94 something. So I mean that score was incredible. They had a incredible season as well, just across the board. Like they just were honestly it's like I'm surprised they didn't have not surprised. I'm they made it all the way to finals and that's when they kind of had some issues. So it's like these kids had to be exhausted.
I
And
mean,
so
they're
it's like,
California guards, so big trek.
oh my goodness, yeah, they're 3 hours ahead of their normal time, and their trek is huge. I mean,
Yeah, their finals time was probably good for them, but you also think they had to go in semis that morning. I
yeah,
mean, so they were probably up at what, 2 a.m. their time, maybe.
bless their hearts.
So
That's a
it's
lot.
just like, yeah, they're performing at 8 o'clock their time, but they were up at 2 in the morning their time. So it's just,
Um, they had beautiful saber technique. I really enjoyed watching them spin saber. That was lovely. Um, and then just their show itself, like the
very well
idea.
designed. Yeah, very well designed.
Very well. I loved that black and white floor with the big dots on it, that those kind of platforms, and then their bold costuming against it was such a fun contrast, and
Yes, agreed.
all of that was very well put together.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it was a very clear, concise idea. Good A-class
mhm.
show with the connect. You connect the dots. They have blue
They're
material. They
doing
pull out blue
great.
flags. Red
Yeah,
material, and then red flags come out. So it's just,
yeah, logical and but exactly what you want. It's like this is perfect. Yeah,
yep.
it worked out really well. They're gonna do really well in open. I think they'll have a
You
good.
think
So yeah, if they keep up that level of design and everything and their training, I think they'll be fine.
they're going to be in Scholastic Open hell out there in California? It's like California and Texas, every regional,
And
they have like
so,
16 Scholastic Open
so many
guards.
groups. I know. It is incredible out there. Yeah,
And
gosh.
interestingly enough, so there was a guard that they were fourth in SA finals last year, Amador Valley. They didn't come to
Oh
Dayton
yeah.
this year, but they got
Mhm.
promoted to open. They
Yeah.
went to a regional and won.
Yeah.
Like they beat Palm Desert Charter Middle School. Like they won the regionals they went to. And it's like,
Very
I
good.
wonder what had happened if you just showed up at finals?
Yeah.
So
Well, they didn't come. Vista Murrieta didn't come. There's a couple, I think that at least one other Clovis school in that same school district as Clovis North that they're an open and they didn't come. Uh,
because you
there's
see, you have Clovis, you have Clovis North, you have Clovis West.
Clovis
The big
East, Clovis
Clovis
West.
West was the big world program from the late '90s, and
And they're in, I think they're in A now, I think, and
I
then
think so.
Clovis,
Yeah.
regular Clovis is an open. Clovis East is either an open or A, I forget. And then, yeah, but I mean, there's so many in that school district. Um, but
So
anyway,
we'll see how they do. They
I'm
could have
excited
lots
for,
of competition out there.
that's right. Yeah. Lots of opportunity to practice and learn and grow. So,
All right, let's move on to our medalists,
yeah.
starting with our third place, River Bluff High School. I didn't write it down, but I believe they're out of South Carolina.
Yes, yep, Lexington, South Carolina.
And their show was Lux Eterna, and this was the most beautiful floor in Scholastic A
It
for me.
was stunning. That stained glass and the way it went up into those props and
Hmm.
it was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
And this was another one just super strong A class show. They moved well, they spun well, clear
Mhm.
design. Just, I mean, yeah, I would say tens across the board, but they definitely
They
check all the boxes. And
yeah, it was just they were very powerful without being aggressive. Like it
yes,
was just wow. It was incredible to watch them spin. Every yeah, like you said, I mean everything that went up came right back down and they just nailed it every time. It was incredible. Um and just yeah, just a beautiful show. My goodness. It was just
yeah, just
beautiful.
very beautiful. I mean, yeah,
I
they
just
had
love
just
it. I mean like that's yeah, it's just gorgeous.
yeah the
Um
great moments. I mean, I love the coloring and yeah, I remember their rifles being particularly strong. Like I think they each come out from behind the prop and threw like a trick to
mhm,
kind of introduce the rifles and they were also deceptively large because I feel like they didn't have all their performers on the floor at the same time.
mhm.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's like 18, 19 people on the
Yeah,
floor.
the flag feature was like, oh my goodness, where'd they all come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, loved it.
So loved it. And I remember watching Retreat and when they announced Clovis North in fourth,
Mhm.
the River Bluff girls just lit up because
Oh,
they were like, we got a medal.
yeah,
Um, so I was happy for them.
yeah, that's awesome.
Let's move on to second place. This was Melissa High School out of Texas. Their show was called Someday You'll Understand. And
Ooh,
this was the Vincent van Gogh show with all the easel props and the giant floor.
that floor was massive, and yeah, it was very wide, just yeah, and
It looked like a World Guards floor.
they used every bit of it.
Hmm.
They used every bit of it. Beautiful floor though. I love that kind of sepia tone coloring to the
Yeah,
just
like that parchment
beautiful.
kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, parchment. Yeah, kind of. And yeah, lots of layers to what they put on the tarp too. Like just in just terms of just the imagery and stuff. Lots of layers to it, but it was really beautiful. Really just beautiful.
And they had the featured performer, the one boy they had, and
Uh-huh. Yeah,
very, very good. I mean, they had
very strong.
this was I'd never heard of them, and I'm sure everybody in Texas is like, oh yeah, they've been great for years, and I'm sure they have. Look at them. They've
Yeah.
this doesn't happen out of nowhere.
Right.
Uh, but I just watching this and just the ones before, it's just like if Texas just decided to get up out of Texas and come to Dayton, just think about how many guards would make finals. It would
Well,
be
it's like when they
insane.
come to Grand
Grand
National
Nets.
for BOA. I mean, whew, it's I think was it last fall or maybe a couple years ago?
I think they had four this last fall. I
Every
think in
Texas band that came made finals. And it was like,
wow.
what? It was nuts, just nuts. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
and that San Antonio super regional they have is like a mini Grand Nets, and
it
it's
is
just
brutal. Yeah, and just because you don't make finals there doesn't mean anything
yeah.
because it's just nuts. So
Yeah,
anyway,
so these we know these Texas groups don't play. Um, I liked it. I will say their pre-show was crazy long. I don't know if they started it late, like if the TMP signaled the people late or whatever, because
yeah,
they were set and just waiting and waiting and waiting while I think it was Starry Starry Night was playing, like a piano version of
that's
that.
yes, okay, you're right. Yeah, I did.
And it's just like, okay, you can start now. Like it's just
Yeah, it was a little long, but once they got going, my heavens.
yeah, and
I
that
honestly
turquoisey teal flag that
that
kind of kept appearing in the paintings as they turned them around. They had
wasn't
each
that
painting had more
gorgeous?
filled in.
That little that was stunning. This show, honestly, I felt the emotion of their performance coming through really strongly. And it got me. I was like, this is just absolutely stunning. I thought they might win. I was like,
It was very
this
close.
might very
It
well
was
be
very
gold medal.
close.
Um,
And
and
honestly, I thought you could drop the show and open and it would be just fine.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're well set up for next
for
season.
next season. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see
Great.
how they do. And just like we mentioned with Clovis North,
Hmm.
I don't know what part of Texas they're from, just because Texas is a couple different circuits, but some of
Gotcha.
those circuits have 13, 14, 15 Scholastic Open guards. So they'll have plenty to compare themselves to.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Not like the Woodlands that
It's
they're the
just
only world guard in their circuit.
by themselves. Yeah. But
Until they go to a regional and they maybe see Flower Mound or something. So,
mhm.
but all these Texas regionals, they have 30 plus A guards that go, and then sometimes upwards of 20 Scholastic Open. So,
Yeah.
and then on to our winner. First place, returning their way back up the ranks, Pope High School out of Georgia, and their
Yeah.
show Blues.
And this was the really beautiful blue saxophone set,
Mm-hmm.
tarpon set. They had some 3D kind of prop elements coming up to make it look like the saxophone bend, and it was really beautifully done. And then they were all in different shades of blue
I
costumes.
love the costuming, even though they were so simple. Just
So
that
simple
that
and sleek
super
and
dark
just
navy, and then that pale slate blue, and just
it.
like, and it was just
Yes,
they were all solid, and they had
uh-huh.
like three colors. It was just a nice way to,
Incredibly well done, and they looked so mature. Uh,
yeah,
the
very
performance
poised.
looked
Yeah.
incredibly, yeah, poised. They were obviously prepared, very, very well prepared, and just yeah, incredibly mature. And like I feel like the set and the whole program itself was very mature. Maybe that was the edge that gave them the gold in terms of just that, looking at the different groups and things like I would say just the maturity to everything was the the oomph to get them into first place.
Yeah, because they probably had, of the top five, they had the hardest soundtrack to spin to.
Mm-hmm. I could see
Like the
that.
most nuanced, with pacing and tempo and pulse. Like that was probably the most difficult one to spin to. And yeah, I just that orange flag they brought out, because the
Wasn't that
contrasting against the
gorgeous?
blue,
Oh, I
but it
love that
wasn't like
color.
it wasn't a striking orange. It was striking against their floor and uniforms,
Against
but
all the blue, it was that perfect, yeah, that
yeah,
perfect
the perfect balance. It
pairing.
was like
But
that muted orange to go against the muted blues. Yeah.
yeah, the way I don't know who works with them specifically, but the way that they, especially flag, the way that they're spinning, manipulating that equipment is well, again, it's very mature. It is that's world class. Like these
Well, they
kids,
used to be world class programs,
they
so
sure they've been in all of the classes. But yeah, they're just something about watching them move that flag around. Wow, just stunning as an ensemble. Maybe not individually, but like as the group. Whew, that was gorgeous to watch.
yeah, agree.
Yeah,
Very
loved it.
well done.
Very
Um,
well deserved gold medal for them.
yeah, I don't even think they had any real bobbles. I think they had like one little lob to
Maybe,
catch. Not it,
but
but it
it
wasn't
was
even a
such
draw.
a
Yeah.
again recovery, right? My goodness, they were prepared to handle it, and they handled it, and I can't remember really remember what it was. So,
Yeah.
it was yeah, just beautiful. Again, that just and wrapping things up with them, and it's just like my gosh, again, what variety we saw in these 20 units in terms of just I'd watch them all again because it's all just so different. It's it's so it was so good.
Did you
Um,
have a favorite of the finalists?
not like a overall favorite, but I mean Grain Valley and Jordan and John C. Bertlbaugh were just those stand out in my brain.
Mm. Mine are
Really,
probably Wiley and Grain Valley.
yeah,
The Cruella show was just so much fun.
it was very fun.
And then Grain Valley, I was just mind blown by their weapons.
Just
So
power,
power, such a powerful show. I'm like, how is this 11th in semis?
isn't that
It
wild?
must be because they had to go on so
That's
early.
I don't know. That yeah, well, and that was I mean this is one of those things where I'm like, I love a contest because you don't know what's going to happen, and we did because all this shuffling around and it just contest dynamics and it's exciting. I love it. Yeah,
And Scholastic A is always hectic and
this
chaos. So
class was so good. I will say I feel like this is one of the strongest Scholastic A just period, top to bottom,
Mm,
that we've had at World Championships in a long time. I think just in term again, just the variety, the talent, the preparedness of the performers, like we've talked about before. Just really was exciting. Loved it.
yeah. And six of the guards were from Texas.
Hmm. How many of those are getting promoted? Just one.
Just one.
Oh yeah. Oh, well. Well, at least for now, anyway. Who knows
For
what will
now,
happen
right?
next season in the middle of the
Yeah, we'll see who comes back next year. It's a big expense to move, just in general to get to Dayton.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot to come all the time.
And that's why I think you don't see a lot of Texas bands go to be Grand Nats. It's just
Right. Yeah.
because those Texas bands a lot of them are massive.
Huge groups.
So, I mean, you
Huge.
got to transport 300 kids,
Hmm.
hotels. You're
Yeah.
there for multiple days. I mean, then you got to haul all of the equipment up there
Yeah.
and
It's
your
a
props. It's just like,
huge ordeal for sure. Yeah. It's always incredible to me to see the groups that do come every year that go to either things like BOA or WGI that they always come. They just every year. That's just in their budget and their plans, and they do it, and they just every single time, whatever state it is, they're always showing up, and it's just like wow, that is incredible that your school district is uh committed to making that happen for you. That's awesome.
yeah, because if you're not like James Logan High School, I mean, they travel across the country every year, but I mean, they were winning Scholastic World every year. So it's like,
Yeah.
but if you're not that, it's hard to convince. I mean, because
Yeah.
Dayton's not cheap.
Well, and who knows? I mean, I guess I'd be curious to know, like, if they ever had pushback from the school, like, you're going again, you're going again. Like, I wonder if they ever had
Hmm.
any issues with that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, they were good, but was it always a guarantee they were going to go? I don't know.
Good question. Yeah.
They didn't come in 2008 because they went to they did the Olympic thing, which was cool. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
That
What'd they
was
do?
that was why their streak ended. Was they didn't come to WGI in 2008 because they were part of the Olympics in Beijing. Um
I didn't know that.
or yeah, there's a video, or there used to be. There was a video out there somewhere of them performing.
Did they do like the opening ceremony or something? Or
I think it was the opening, yeah. Um I'll have to look it up and see if I can find it again. But it was
that's
cool. But
fascinating.
that's why they didn't come because I think they went to a regional. I think they did that. And then but they didn't come to Worlds. And then they came back in '09, um, and got the silver or bronze or
I'm
something.
gonna go silver. Yeah, I felt bad for Avon in 2008 because every year, second to James Logan. James Logan doesn't come out and they lose to Flanagan. Just like, oh God. It was like Center Grove back in the late 90s, like always second,
Always
always
second
second,
place, always
always
surprise
second,
me.
always behind Bishop Kearney. And then you
Yep.
had James Logan pop up and then they're second
Uh-huh.
to them. And then
Yes.
Avon's always second. Finally, then Avon finally won in '09. And now
Yep.
now they've racked up a bunch of wins, but it's
Yep.
just all
Oh gosh. But
right. Well, that's all
this is
we've got for
exciting.
Scholastic A.
Yeah. Yeah. Congrats to all the finalists. Great job.
And we'll
Excited to
be
see what
seeing
happens
you open
next.
guards next year. And maybe some of you A guards next year too. We'll see who goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see how that how that turns out. That'll be fun.
And then we only have two more to do. We have open and world for the Scholastic site. And then we can put a bow
Woo!
on Dayton and put it on the back shelf. So we will catch you on the next one.
Bye.